Right now, Shams of ESPN is reporting that the Miami Heat are open to trading away Jimmy Butler. This is a situation that we have been monitoring on this channel for a while, going back to the offseason where the Heat didn't want to give Jimmy Butler the extension that he wanted. He still felt like he was deserving of a giant contract extension. Pat Riley said publicly they're not going to pay Jimmy if he's not going to play, if he's not going to be available. Things have been weird between the two for a while, and it looks like Jimmy Butler's time in Miami might be coming to an end. And in this article, Shams points out a couple of teams that he feels like specifically are going to be open to and active and aggressive in trading for Jimmy Butler. But I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen. This is a weird situation for a couple of different reasons. First, Jimmy Butler hasn't been that available, and he's 35 years old. He's making almost $50 million this season. That is a big investment for one of these teams, especially one of them that we're going to talk about here a little bit later, just in terms of the timeline of your team. You need to have a specific thought process in mind for your season if you're going to be trading for Jimmy Butler this year. The other thing that makes this complicated for Miami, as well as the team that could possibly trade for Butler, is the fact that he is not under contract beyond this season. He has a player option for this offseason in 2025, and according to this article, he's going to decline that option. Jimmy Butler is going to be a 2025 free agent. Now, obviously, that could be used as leverage to force Miami to actually trade him, but it also works against him in trade possibilities because teams generally don't want to trade a lot away in exchange for a guy that is not under contract for the following season, in addition to thinking about the contract you're going to have to give 35-year-old, not that available, not that durable Jimmy Butler. So when you combine all those things together, there is a lot going on with the Jimmy Butler trade rumor sweepstakes right now. Let's talk about the first team that Shams mentions in this article here, and that is the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors have been in the market for a star free agent trade acquisition for a while. They tried to get Lauri Markkanen. They tried to get Paul George. As recently as this offseason, they were willing to trade away, whether it be Kuminga or Podziemski, they were willing to trade away real pieces to get one of those two guys, and they're mentioned as a real Jimmy Butler trade possibility. After a really good start to the season where they've got Buddy Hield and all these other role players playing really well, the Warriors have kind of fallen back down to earth, and it's clear that to them, they need to add star power alongside Steph Curry in order to truly compete this year, and their rotation just doesn't really work anymore with the way that Kuminga needs to play, and then Draymond's coming off the bench, and then how does Wiggins fit into all this? The Warriors are primed to kind of consolidate a couple of players into a star, and possibly that star could be Jimmy Butler. But just like with the other two teams we're going to talk about in this video, there's one factor that's really holding the Warriors back in any trade possibilities for Jimmy Butler. It's really hard to match the almost $50 million salary for Jimmy Butler this season if you're a team that is also trying to contend. You're trading away multiple rotation pieces in order to try and add Jimmy Butler to your team. You can see this trade structure for Golden State technically does work, but they're trading a bunch of pieces of their rotation, including Andrew Wiggins, and Miami's not just trading Jimmy Butler away for nothing. They want value, so you put Kuminga in here, and then all of a sudden you're losing 3 rotation guys, and that also includes a young player in Kuminga that you'd like to be able to build with moving forward, and all of a sudden, I'm not sure Golden State is that much better, if better at all, by trading for Jimmy Butler. If Jimmy Butler was making like $30 million this year, this would be much, much easier. But this salary number is really difficult to match. I just want to point out really quickly though, the last 2 times I've given out my selections, I've gotten them right on the sponsor of today's video, PrizePicks. Right now is an awesome time to get started with PrizePicks. There are so many promotions, more than honestly I can even tell you about. The one big thing I want to tell you about is they have a Patrick Mahomes free square coming up for this Sunday on the 15th. If Patrick Mahomes passes for a single yard, that is a free square selection. And if you're using that Pat Mahomes free square, you want to get started with PrizePicks, you can click the link in the description. You can use code SPORTING for an instant $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. But that's not the only stuff that's going on right now on PrizePicks. Right now, they've got Pickmas going on, so there's all kinds of promotions all throughout the month of December. They've got Flex Friday every week. They've got Taco Tuesday every week. And all you have to do is do what I did with these couple of selections. You go on there, you pick more or less for each of these numbers, you put your selection together, and if you're correct, you win some cash. And like I said, you have that Pat Mahomes free square for coming up this week. You can combine that with NBA stuff as well. You put all those things together, and it just kind of adds to your experience. It's an extra little fun to have while you're watching these games. And again, if you want to get started, I would encourage you to click the link in the description, use code SPORTING for an instant $50 when you place your first $5 lineup. Use that PrizePicks free square, use all these promos they've got going on, and thank you again to PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. Now, similar to the Warriors situation, there's another team that's mentioned in this article that is certainly trying to contend this season, and that is the Dallas Mavericks. They have the ability to bring in Jimmy Butler, pair him with Kyrie and Luka, and add kind of this defensive presence. It's another star. That's something that Dallas has always tried to do. It's something they did when they acquired Kyrie Irving. They see a star that they feel like is getting traded for less value than they'd actually provide. They want to go out and get that guy. But they have a similar issue to what the Warriors have. They don't really have the ability to match this salary without trading either Klay Thompson or PJ Washington in the deal. And no disrespect to Jimmy Butler, at his peak, he can still be awesome. If I'm Dallas, I don't want to trade PJ Washington, who's 26, 27 years old and on an affordable contract and a complimentary option for me. I don't want to trade that guy for Jimmy Butler. And I'm not sure why the Heat would be all that interested in bringing in Klay Thompson to their team either, not to mention the fact that Dallas doesn't really have future assets to trade away here unless the Heat are really excited about Quentin Grimes. Jaden Hardy can't be traded this season because he signed an extension. They don't really have future picks to trade either. I'm honestly pretty confused as to why the Mavs were even mentioned in this article by Shams. Now, the last team here, I think, is the most likely team to actually trade for Jimmy Butler. If he actually gets moved before the deadline, I think this is the team, and it is the Houston Rockets for a couple of reasons. One, salary matching is much easier for them. They have the Dillon Brooks money, which is about $22 to $25 million, and they can, if they want to trade away Dillon Brooks, if they choose to do that, that's going to be a significant piece. Steven Adams makes about $12.5 million. They can trade him away as well. They have other bigs they can use within their rotation there. And then you pick one of the young guys. In this scenario, it's Jabari Smith, and then you throw another pick in there as well. Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun are not options because they signed extensions this past offseason, which is something that we talked about at the time, where I'm pretty sure the Rockets would kind of be okay trading away Jalen Green in exchange for Jimmy Butler right now, but they're not able to because he signed the extension, and obviously if they wait till the offseason, Jimmy Butler's probably going to be a free agent. Now, that would have also been a possibility for them had they not done the Jalen Green extension. They could have declined the Fred VanVleet money and then just signed Jimmy Butler as a free agent. That's no longer a possibility for Houston. Having said all that, of the three teams that we have talked about so far in the video, Houston seems the most realistic. He fits their group a little bit better, even though he's 35 and not this like elite perimeter creator. He would be a real legit star to add to this team, which is something they need, especially on the perimeter. And if you feel like you can kind of get that guy to fit into your group, just kind of basically replace Dillon Brooks with Jimmy Butler on this roster, that's going to help them a lot. It's going to help kind of progress them and move them forward to maybe top tier contender status in the Western Conference. And the Rockets, like the Warriors, are primed for this like consolidation type of trade where they're trying to turn three players into one. They're trying to upgrade one spot on their roster and maybe get rid of some of their depth. They're not trading away Amen Thompson. They can't trade away Jalen Green or Alperen Sengun. So Jabari Smith kind of just becomes the guy here. Maybe Cam Whitmore gets thrown in here as well. I'm not saying that this is the deal that Miami is going to take or be excited about. It's just kind of the structure of what this would look like if Houston did decide to trade for Jimmy Butler. But I'll be honest, if I was Houston or Golden State or Dallas, I don't really want Jimmy Butler. I know that sounds crazy, and someone that has led teams to finals appearances and has been really good. He's not that available. He's not that durable. He's really expensive, and you're going to have to sign him to a big contract. Like if you're Houston and you're trading for Jimmy Butler, you're not trading for Jimmy Butler for 4 months. You're trading for Jimmy Butler for like a couple of years here, and you're picking that guy as a foundational piece with which all of your other young guys are going to grow around. And given that that's already kind of a team that has spacing issues, I'm not that excited about that. Dallas, I already talked about, it's basically impossible for them to get the salaries to match unless you're trading PJ Washington or Klay Thompson, which I don't understand. And then, I mean, Golden State, it makes sense in an immediate sense if you're just like trying to create this 1 to 2 year window for Steph to try and win another title. But in the long term, you're giving up a lot in terms of rotation pieces. You're giving up a lot in terms of assets. You're giving up a lot in terms of future flexibility. And I don't really think the Jimmy Butler trade market is going to be all that strong. If you're a Heat fan and you're hoping to trade away Jimmy Butler, I wouldn't get too excited about the return you're going to get in exchange. He's old, not that durable, not under contract moving forward, and whatever contract he does sign with his new team is going to be it's going to be pretty expensive because in the trade market, there's not a lot of interest, but I think in free agency, there would be some teams kind of moving some stuff around to try and bring in Jimmy Butler in free agency. So it's a very interesting situation in that he's hard to trade for and kind of hard to find a team for. So right now, I'm not really sure there's going to be that much interest in a Jimmy Butler trade.